Howdy. Name's Cisco Kid. And this here's my trusty horse named Knuckles. Knuckles and I've been riding these dusty trails around San Antone for, it's got to be going on 15 years now. One day we was riding these dusty trails and minding our business. We weren't hurting nobody. And next thing we know, lawmen coming out of every nook and cranny and putting them guns at us, and they took me off all Knuckles and tossed me on the ground, face down, boot stomped me a few times, which I thought was a little excessive, but the sheriff says, Cisco Kid? I said, well, yeah. You're being detained on suspicion of horse thievery. Horse thievery, Sheriff, I said. Well, you know me better than that, Sheriff. I've been riding the top of old Knuckles there for going on 15 years. Oh, you ain't been keeping up with current events now, have you, Cisco? The sheriff said with an evil glimmer in his eye. He said, we can do whatever we want now. And I said, how do you figure that, Sheriff? You ain't making no sense. He said, oh, yeah. Ever since we took to calling this a high crime area, we can do whatever we want. Now strip and get ready for that cavity search.
This is the first of two short segments of video that'll demonstrate just how easily officers can abuse the whole concept of this is a high crime area. This first incident occurred down in the state of Mississippi. An African-American man who stayed at the motel, room 105, he'd come out of his room and gotten into the white car to warm up the engine. And out of nowhere, there's an officer who shows up, parks himself outside the driver's door. And you'll see how easily the officer uses that high crime area designation to segue into an unlawful demand for identification, because the goal is to get the driver's identification to run him for warrants, even if that means lying and use of force and violence, which it does. Okay, so let's just go ahead and watch it. You'll see how it unfolds, and it happens really, really fast.
Officer Marshall, San Antonio Police Department. Look, the reason I'm getting out with you, man, you've been staying here for a while, and this is a high area, man, for like narcotics, prostitution, stuff like that.
Well, that took 15 seconds. Now we're going to leave the great state of Mississippi. Let's take a little trip over to the state of Florida. Now the good news over there is where this guy is going to get his ass kicked in the next 3 or 4 minutes. Wait a minute, over in Florida they do the same thing. In fact, they kicked that guy's ass over in Florida worse than this guy's ass in Mississippi. So, yeah, let's go ahead and jump on a bus and let's go on over to Florida and see what happens over there. You remember this one, Solomon E. Smith III. So appalling the way that officers are so quick to use force and violence, and you know that that's why they got into law enforcement.
I don't know who you are.
I got who you are.
Okay, I don't know who you are. So, it's 12 o'clock at night. You're out here walking.
I'm minding my business, though.
Okay,
I ain't hurt nobody. It should not be no problem. I'm minding my business. Could not be doing, I'm not doing it to nobody. I ain't hurt nobody. I ain't commit no crime.
I never said you did.
Why are y'all coming at me?
Because
I'm not doing that.
It's 12 o'clock at night, and at 12 o'clock at night, most people are at home in bed.
Minding my business, coming from my friend's house. That's the problem. Okay. That's why you can't do me like that.
Whether you believe this or not, okay?
I'm good.
You're in the area that's known for a lot of drug activity and prostitution, okay? All right, so I don't know who you are, so I'm going to get out and I'm going to identify you. And if you're good to go, you're going to be on your way and you can go home and do whatever you want to do.
You notice it's always the same two things when it comes to some cop talking about a high crime area. Drugs and hoes. It's always drugs and hoes, not murder or robberies or, burglaries or carjacking or property crimes like vandalism or even stealing little puppies and kittens. It's drugs and hoes. The fact of the matter is that in both examples, the officers are just making that up. It's like spaghetti, throwing it against the wall and see what sticks. This is part of their shtick. When they want to harass somebody, they just roll up, claim it's a high crime area, whatever that means, and then they start going after ID and, force and violence. Guys, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a place for designating an area as high crime. We did it in Game and Fish. But we sure as hell didn't do it in such a way that we were going to screw people out of their rights. It didn't work that way. The reason that agencies designate areas as high crime areas, it goes right to the heart of resource allocation, manpower needs, and money or special equipment. or to justify plainclothes or undercover operations. It's to make the business of policing more efficient and more effective. And I haven't even got to the point about having to identify all the statistical variables like, well, what are the boundaries and what's the duration, the metric of success? What are the goals? Where's the emphasis going to be placed? Is it gang activity? Is it narcotics distribution? Maybe it's because people are crawling underneath cars and cutting off catalytic converters, but you have to be able to identify the goals and what criminal activity you most want to target. In its Illinois v. Wardlow decision, the Supreme Court said, okay, a person's presence in a high crime area, although that can be used to help establish reasonable suspicion, in and of itself, it's not enough. And part B of Wardlow was, if a person is physically present and they attempt to flee upon seeing the police, that the combination of those two, presence in a high crime area and fleeing upon seeing the police, that working together was cause to justify detention under reasonable suspicion. Believe it or not, there's a term that covers this, and that term is happenstance of geography. A happenstance of geography, and here's what that means. A happenstance of geography is when a person happens to occupy an area with a known history of criminal activity. In and of itself, a happenstance of geography is not enough. It's not enough to establish reasonable suspicion, which then can be used to justify detention. Now that we've covered high crime areas, the Wardlow decision, and now the definition of a happenstance of geography, how about we revisit the states of Mississippi and Florida and plug this newfound knowledge into those set of circumstances, and I think this is going to be eye-opening. I really believe that.
Officer Marshall, Sentobi Police Department. Look, the reason I'm getting out with you, man, you've been sitting here for a while, and this is a high area, man, for like narcotics, prostitution, stuff like that.
All the officer has here is a happenstance of geography, and that's assuming he's telling the truth. Remember, a happenstance of geography cannot be the sole reason to detain someone. How about we head on over to Florida?
Coming from my friend's house. That's the problem. Okay. That's why you can't do me like that.
Whether you believe this or not, okay, you're in the area that's known for a lot of drug activity and prostitution, okay?
The next time you watch a YouTube video where the officer drops this bullshit bomb about a high crime area and we got lots of problems with narcotics and prostitution, and that's all the officer has, happenstance of geography, he's lying. And it's going to be maddening as you're yelling at the TV or in your tablet or your phone. Happenstance of geography, you're being bullshitted. And the only way the folks who are being bullshitted are going to make sure it doesn't happen again is to know their rights. Happenstance of geography. Be on the lookout for it. And the only thing I can say at this point is, Professor D.B. McCrae has left the building.